So Susie, I am so excited to ask you a few questions. And I'm really kind of hoping that they're in this folder here too. So we'll just,
I'll share.
okay, she's gonna share these. I printed them a long time ago, so they're here somewhere. I thought it would be fun to do this as kind of a interview with Susie instead of just hearing one of us talk or somebody talk, that this might be a good way to do it. So I asked a few people if they had questions that they would like to know from Susie, and people were willing to share. And so one of them was, well, first of all, you don't really need any introduction. I think almost everybody here, especially those that have known you for 20 years, have known you, and there's no introduction necessarily. Susie walks in the room and everybody knows her. And then the other thing is, she and I both got these really cool gold lanyards. So you can tell that it's Susie too because of her gold lanyard, right? So one of the really pressing questions was, before we chat about one-to-one, tell us about you. Like, where are you from? Do you have kids, grandkids, pets, favorite colors? Just anything about Susie that maybe even someone in this room might not know.
Yeah, I think everyone who knows me knows I have grandkids. So, I mean, that's a given. And there are nods going on here. Right now I live in Denver. I've been there for almost 5 years. And I moved there because my oldest daughter, middle child, was getting ready to have her first child. And she and her husband said, please come. We want you to be part of our family. And so I am part of their family. I may have a sore throat because of one of the grandchildren's, but I love it. So I'm in Denver. I moved there from Birmingham, lived in Birmingham maybe 40 years, kind of embarrassing. And I grew up in New York. And so I always claim that I'm from New York first, but now I claim I'm from Denver. But I have 3 grown children, 2 grown in-law children, and then 4 grandchildren. So David and Jen live in Houston with Carrie and Millie. Carrie's 7, Millie's 5. I have to remember this.
Susie, is your mute on?
Oh, yeah. I've been talking to myself. Hi. What do you want me to do?
I have to turn me down. So Susie she's just telling us a little bit about herself. For those that don't know, she's a grandparent and she's currently in Denver and originally from Birmingham, New York originally, right? And then Birmingham.
Yeah.
And now Denver. And here she is with us. Yeah. What else? Favorite color?
Favorite color is blue. Definitely a conversation that goes on a lot with the grandchildren.
Okay.
What else? Let's see. I have children in Houston, Denver, which is why I'm there, and Birmingham, and hoping that the Birmingham daughter will move to Denver sometime. My fingers are crossed. It's sooner rather than later. I am a fiber artist. I weave, I knit. I brought my knitting with me. I do machine sewing. I do hand sewing. I do anything I can really do with my hands that is fiber related. I am a ferocious reader and listener to books on Audible, and travel really is my passion at this point. I cannot go to enough places, and so if anyone needs a buddy to travel with, definitely call me or text me. Probably my most interesting place, and I've been to a lot of interesting places, was Antarctica, and became a very spiritual really experience for me, which led me to now want to go see the polar bears. So we were talking about that at dinner. Favorite foods, sushi, and really any kind of ethnic food. So dog, Dottie. Not sure what I think of her, but she's getting calmer as she turns 3. And it's definitely kind of that snuggle bunny in my bed. So when I sleep and she's not there, my leg is like hopping around trying to find her. She's very cute. And again, the grandkids in Denver love her. So it's It's a special treat. I really thought I was getting her for my daughter and she would take her eventually, but it's not happening. So
Fun. I think all of us who have pets can relate to that. We're not quite sure what we think of them, but we love them, so. Well, tell us a little bit about where you were 20 years ago with your coaching career.
So 20 years ago, amazing, just amazing. I had started coach training in 2021. Actually, in September, I took my, I think, second class on 9/11. It's very memorable. I had a nice therapy practice that worked well for me and no intention in being a coach. And I tell my students when I'm teaching coaching classes this story, because I've done whatever they think they want to do to get out of things. I used to lay on the floor in my office and I would do my progress notes for my therapy clients while I was listening to the classes and participating. What happened was I became enamored with coaching. I really fell in love with magic and the power and the fact that the focus was on the client being the expert on themselves and that all I had to do was be an expert on the coaching process. And it really shifted things for me. And I eventually closed my coaching practice. And what I did with coaching was I started one-to-one. So instead of doing a viable private practice, I really put time, energy, money, resources into creating one-to-one. So I was involved with Dave Ellis's work, Falling Awake, Creating the Life of Your Dreams, and met a number of people in this room and on the call and elsewhere through those trainings and workshops. Fun. My life totally changed. And I was living in Birmingham at the time. Actually was married, not anymore. What else? That's where I was.
You talk about the Falling Awake training and how did that inspire you? What was it about that training?
Glad you asked that question. I will tell you that I had these questions beforehand and I did them on the plane coming here. So I'm prepared. Again, the coaching with Dave Ellis was really about listening fully. I thought as a therapist of almost 20 years that I was a good listener. People would say that to me. I realized that I was not a good listener, that to really listen to somebody fully is really just shutting down all my internal messages and responses and just really listening to what they're saying. So that was a major thing. Dreaming big. We were talking about that. Just really thinking about that anything is possible, except if it's not possible and you're not going to know it unless you try it. So really being in that modality. Asking myself, what did I want? Which was something I didn't do as a child because when I wanted something, I got something different. So I just stopped wanting. And so really starting to ask that question and putting my attention on my intentions and then finding that really magic happened. And one-to-one is definitely an example about that. Again, going back to that the client's the expert and not giving advice. And, being in a mode of celebrating what you have, and then moving into what do you want, so creation, and then moving into manifestation. How will I put that into practice? The magic of 3x5 cards.
So during that session, you filled out a 3x5 card, and I've heard the story, and it kind of gives me chills every single time that you just filled it out. What did that 3x5 card say?
The 3x5 card. This is like I don't know, it's a little trite, right? The 3x5 card said that I wanted to give away coaching to 2 women a month. All right. So the irony is I wasn't coaching at the time. I also wrote a 3x5 card that said that I wanted to show my weaving in galleries and shows, and I didn't know how to weave. I have shown my weaving in galleries and shows, and I've given coaching away to many women. as have you. So I wanted to learn Spanish and ended up in Guatemala with my daughter on this trip that I was like, what am I doing? And then ended up creating a short-lived business in Guatemala. So magic of 3x5 cards.
Well,
So
did you fill out any other 3x5 cards that day that you remember?
Those are some of them that I
All of
did
them?
share.
Did you have any like that you filled out that you decided that's no longer a dream?
I'm sure I did. I don't know. I would have to go back. I eventually created a multi-page document from all the cards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Neat. So what are some of the challenges you faced when you were creating one-to-one and setting it up as a nonprofit?
That's something different I want to share. So challenges were, Karen can attest to this one. I thought we had created a phenomenal program. I do, and we did. And it is a we, it's not just a me. And I really envisioned it being a program that agencies and organizations would tack on to what they were already offering. So the YWCA, Birmingham, Pittsburgh, once they worked with the women to retrain them, to get housing, wouldn't this be a perfect program to marry? So when they left the YWCA program, then one-to-one could help them sustain their success, and improve their potential. It never happened. I went to Pittsburgh. Karen and I pitched it. Karen did a workshop there or several. I went to Birmingham. I pitched it there. And we went, and some of us went other places. I never understood. We were offering something for free. The organization didn't have to pay anything, right? We were bringing everything, and we had accountability measures so we could show them, how their former clients did. No one ever took us up. So that was definitely a challenge. I think we're all going to laugh at this, but a challenge back then was having a virtual community. It was pretty unheard of. So, everything we did was virtually because we were all over the country and Canada at that time. So that was a challenge. And maybe another challenge was like raising money. I think we always raised enough money for what we absolutely needed, but we never raised big money, which was part of, the dream, that we would be sort of the go-to model for coaching programs.
Yeah.
Somebody once said at a work when we did the coaches retreat in Birmingham, she was very excited. She was very new to one-to-one, and she said, I think we need to have this on every corner, like Starbucks. And I was like, oh, maybe I don't need to be doing this anymore. So yeah, those are some of the challenges.
Was there anything that really surprised you in those beginning years? Like any lessons learned maybe that stuck with you?
Yes. I think what amazed me then and what amazes me now is the attraction that one-to-one has for all of you to be involved, to spend the amount of time you spend, that every single person I asked to be a coach said yes, except for one. And that one person was a friend. So it was interesting that everybody just, for whatever reason, when I talk about one-to-one, even now, I have people go, I'd like to do that. That I don't know what that is, but it's there. I think I was surprised that we didn't grow bigger. And yet it feels just fine the way it is, that we've grown in other ways. Yeah.
Great. Do you have a favorite memory or experience in your work with one-to-one?
I do. So can I answer something else first?
Yeah.
And then go back?
You're in charge. You can do whatever you want.
Thanks. I want to share more of the story of one-to-one with you. Some of you know this very well because you walked it with me. Some of you, this might be your first time to hear how one-to-one was created. I know we always talk about the 3x5 card. I know we always talk about that it was me who did this. Yes and no. So part of what I did when I was writing on the plane was really reliving how one-to-one came into existence. And I got teary because it was pretty magical. So I did write a card that said I want to give coaching away to 2 women a month, and I was not coaching. So it was dreaming pretty big. That led to being on a flight from Birmingham to California for another Dave Ellis workshop. And I read about a program at Berea College in Kentucky that was bringing women in, even providing childcare for 3 weeks for a program where they would go to the dentist, they would have, specific job skill training, where they would get new clothes. And I thought, wow, those are the women to give this coaching to. Now, remember, I didn't know anybody at Berea. And I came to the workshop, and there was a woman there named Ophelia Smith, who's no longer with us. And she was taller than me, which is not unusual. And I was saying, Ophelia, I think this is, and I just started, and she looks down at me and she goes, there's money to do that. And I left that brief encounter and thought about it all night and got up the next day and said, would you be part of this? I was really nervous to ask her because of who she was. And asked another woman at the workshop, Ray Lapine or Ray Millman. And they both said, oh yeah, we want to do this. And that was the beginning. So Ray and I went to New York City. We met in Ophelia's apartment on the Upper West Side. Her apartment was, the shelves of books were floor to ceiling everywhere. And we had flip chart papers everywhere in her apartment, everywhere. We dreamed big. Okay, I'm going to tell you how big. This is serious. And somebody has these papers somewhere. Maybe I sent them to somebody. We did 1-year planning. We did 5-year planning. We did 10-year planning, 50-year. We did 100-year planning. We were going to do it internationally. Oh my God, we do it internationally, right?
Yep.
We also decided we were going to do it intergalactically. That's how big we were thinking. We talked about that we would do it, that it would one day have a base in North Carolina. Now, I thought Ophelia would run it in North Carolina. That never happened, but Penny ran it from North Carolina. So there were all these things that we put out there, many of which has come to fruition. It's incredible. Again, putting attention on your intention, right? We spent a lot of time filling in these sheets about what the program would look like. How long would we provide services for? Who would be eligible for services? Who would be eligible for coaching? We really scripted the whole thing. It wasn't just sort of like, oh, I think we'll do this. It was very, very detailed. And all that information is somewhere. And for the most part, that's the way the organization still runs. It's amazing. I mean, now I have the chills, of course. One of the things that was very important was that the organization be run, one, as an organization by women for women, that we were not going to emulate men in how we did things, and that women are very much about listening and relationships. And that was going to be part of the organization, from the coaches, leadership. At that point, we didn't have leadership, and, to our clients. The other thing is that, was that it was going to be a coaching organization. We didn't forget that. And that as coaches, we were going to listen. We were going to honor everybody. So we were going to honor each other as coaches. We were going to honor our clients. All of us are experts, right? And all of us know what we know. And so we were going to honor those. And that's how, once a board was formed, That's how the board was created. And I'll tell my favorite Elizabeth story in a moment. So those two things have always been very important, that we operate as women, honor that and respect that. And we operate as coaches. We honor ourselves as coaches and we respect ourselves for being coaches. And when people would come in and say, oh, you know, you need to do, you know, like I talked to my husband at the time, he would say that, it's like, no, this is not how we operate. The other thing was, as an aside, was coming as a clinical social worker. I did not want this to be a clinical program. There were plenty of clinical programs. So everything we chose to do it as coaches, including the forms we used. We didn't do intake forms. We did client data forms. You know, we didn't do assessments. You know, when I would interview potential clients, I didn't interview them, you know, to see what was broken in their lives. I really talked to them about what they wanted. You know, what did they want? What did they think they could do? And we would move forward in that way. So I think those are important things just to know about the beginning of one-to-one. Now, let me see if I've gotten. We literally spent hours, days. I mean, there were phone calls. I have notes of phone calls, which I sent to Carrie from 2004, you know, that we taught. I just took notes all the time. I never looked at them again, but I always took notes.
I have them if you want to, though.
Good. And then we each put in $1,000 to sort of seed us. I asked my sister to draw the logo, to come up with a name. The name we wanted was already taken. She said, well, what about, oh, I asked her to come up with a logo for the name we picked. And I said, oh yeah, we loved it. And I know it took her like a nanosecond. Like she did not think of that hardly at all. And actually Elizabeth is wearing the shirt of our original colors and name. Ophelia stepped away because she was like second in command for a large organization in New York and couldn't really take this on, but was very supportive always. And Ray and I worked on this, launched it. And at a certain point, Ray said, you know, I'm out. And I was like, okay, it's me. And Ray said, well, you need a board of directors. And I said, I don't need a board of directors. I'm going to do it myself. And she said, you need a board of directors. And I was like, okay, fine. And I asked people to be on the board. And I must say that those women are some of my very closest friends now, some who are here. So, okay, Ray, you were right about that. And that worked out really well. The other thing about one-to-one was it had a twofold purpose, again, from the beginning. One was to provide coaching to women who couldn't afford it. I felt very fortunate that I could afford a coach, and the people we were doing, you know, who were training with me could afford coaches. But what about those women who couldn't? And I think about the women who, I don't know about you, but I was always on the bottom of my list, taking care of, you know, it's a mother, a wife, a sister, a daughter, a friend, a colleague, you know, client, you know, therapist. And then if there was any space, it was me. And so I felt that women deserved to be given pro bono coaching. You know, how many of you in this room are ever given just a gift and you don't have to do anything in exchange? And that was always the conversation about, do we charge, do we not charge? And I would always go back to, how often do you get a gift that you don't have to do anything in exchange? The other thing is we were all starting our coach training, and how were we going to get clients? So the other part was to start seriously this organization, so there would be a community for coaches to practice, to learn, you know, to practice their craft. Coaching is very isolating. You know, you do it from your home. At that point, you did it on your phone. Now you do it Zoom. But, you know, and so this is a way of, again, giving back to the coaches who are volunteering their time and services, and to create a community for them. And here we are, still doing it 20 years later. It's amazing. What else do I want you to know? Told you that. The other thing that I love about one-to-one is that there's an open door policy. And we talk about it and we laugh about it. And I've experienced it. I can be away from the organization and then be invited to be part of something and come back or not. And that it's a place you can come and give all you want to give and then step aside. And then at some point when it's time, come back again, that it's not a one and done. I love that. And again, I think that's about being a woman in relationship. I think it is absolutely amazing how one-to-one has attracted so many women coaches. So many. I'm at a board retreat in September in the mountains, and my roommate's a coach but does executive coaching. And she's like, I think I want to come and be part of one-to-one. You're kidding. And then I go, well, as long as you're going to come and do that, maybe you could bring these other skills with you, right? So this is how the organization grows and exists and really thrives. So coaches, clients, leadership. And I must say I'm gobsmacked by this whole, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I answered your question though.
Well, you answered questions I didn't know I had, so that was fabulous. Well,
can I tell it some?
Yes.
So some of the things on these papers, I just have to tell you because they're fun, was that our daughters or nieces would be involved. Now, come on, 20 years ago, my oldest daughter would have been like 20, right? And she worked for one-to-one. Yeah. And when I left, she was still working for one-to-one. We've had nieces, daughters, cousins, friends' daughters be clients. I just heard of one last week. And I'm like, you're kidding, your daughter? Somebody would get involved with one-to-one, your daughter is now a client? Yes, that's what we created it for. That continuing to give back.
Well, that's an incredible starting story. I'm just overwhelmed. I think that's amazing. I really love how you wove in all the different people that were a part of it. And that's just so gracious of your nature. And that's so much how one-to-one still operates. Just that inviting the ask. I heard you say ask. I should have kept track, but that's how a lot of us are here, is because somebody asked us to be a part of something that is just sort of magical and really is serving in such amazing ways. So here we are at 20 years. A lot's changed in the coaching profession in that time. And I think you're testament to just talking about how everyone that formed one-to-one was still learning about their coaching and getting clients. And the profession itself has really become it's come to its own in a way. It was kind of birthing its at that point too as a profession. So just to give you some stats on how successful one-to-one's been in 20 years.
Okay.
Your goal was to serve 2 clients a year. And since 2004, one-to-one has coached nearly 800 clients over the past 20 years.
Pretty amazing.
We hit your goal.
Yeah. Beyond. Beyond.
And that includes 118 caregiver clients since 2014. Which of course is near and dear to my soul, but those are some amazing statistics. And on average, we serve about, well, Don's going to speak to that, but we serve on average 44 clients annually. And the coaches donate over 700 hours on average per year. Amazing. And collectively as a group, when you talk about the advisory council, the board of directors, the volunteers, the coaches, we're doing about 3,000 hours annually of volunteer work. I think that's amazing.
It is amazing.
And I'm not sure if any of those numbers were on the big sheets that you had hanging around the apartment or not. But if they were, that's where we're at. And that's only the first 20 years. So imagine where we can be in another. And when you talked about growth, that made me think about a lot of things we've talked at the board level too, is that growth doesn't always mean big. And I think about this really unruly vine that I have that is really pretty in my backyard and it grows with pretty yellow flowers. But if I forget about it for a month or two, it just becomes a disaster and I have to clip it back and then it's beautiful again, right? Growth is about a lot of different things, including pruning and including just a steady and intentional effort when you talk about intentions. And that's what brings you to the 20-year mark and to the 800 clients and to setting those new goals for what the next step will be. I think when we talk about growth, a lot of times we think about big and a presence in every state. And really, presence internationally is amazing. So very kudos to you. Yeah, so I think
It's just
round of applause for that for sure. So I'm glad that we made into the
thanks to all of you. I mean,
And there are a lot of people in this room and on your screen in front of you who were there in those early days. Did you have any special words specifically to them tonight that you haven't already said?
beside, thank you for just being who you are and being part of this organization at whatever point you have been part of in whatever way. It's amazing to listen to yourselves and know that this is something you want to do. And then following through and doing it however you want. There was never like, cookie cutter that you had to fit into. So yeah, I thank you. Go ahead.
Oh, go.
No, I also want to, I don't know if this is the time, but it may be. I think it's a good time to remember those who are not with us. And we were talking about it at dinner. And so Ophelia Smith, amazing woman, lived in New York City, talented pianist, world, lived various places in the world. Just amazing woman. Just really passed away too young. She really did. And yet did it with such integrity. So I just want to honor her name and remember her. For those of you who knew her, I mean, I don't know what else you can say about her. Just amazing. Stephanie Rothschild, who I met through One-to-One, who it turned out lived down the street from my aunt in New York City on the same block. That's never happened. And would meet with her for coffee or a walk or go to the special spice store when I was in New York. Also gone too young and too fast. That was just heartbreaking. I think she touched people's lives in One-to-One in very different ways. I mean, she was a gift. And then Sandra Ellington. And the anniversary of her death was Monday, actually. And I mean, what do you say about having your personal cheerleader, except that we all had the same cheerleader, right? And I thought when I went to her memorial, somebody was saying something, and I remember sitting in the back of the church going, damn, I thought she was just that way with me, but that was just, she had more love and more, she was the biggest cheerleader for everyone. And cheerleaded me in One-to-One, cheerleaded One-to-One, and was just a very dear friend. So again, just really miss her. So I just want to honor that some of my closest friends came from One-to-One, are part of One-to-One. People that I haven't seen for years and years that, I just smile at, right? And then think of crazy stories. Yeah, I think listening to our hearts and being connected, and making those phone calls that we were talking about at dinner and really reaching out to people, it's really important. The other thing I want to say is to make sure everybody votes. And to talk to people. I keep talking to younger people. I want to know what they think. And I'm really a little scared when I hear answers. And then having coaching skills of listening and asking powerful questions and then having amazing conversations. So that's just a PSA.
An important one too.
Yeah.
Well, as 121 moves into the next decade of service, what would some of your hopes and dreams for the future of 121 as an organization be?
I think this was the hardest, in all honesty. I'm not involved a lot, so I don't know the planning. I think it's amazing, the caregivers. I think to continue to serve more women, to serve more coaches, have more gatherings like this, where we come together, it really, I think, revitalizes the organization and the connection. I think as far as dreams and hopes, I always wanted this to be a model for other coaching organizations. I really think that if we brought coaching into the world on a grand scale, we would not be where we are today. So, for us to continue to do that, to collaborate, to come from, our place of values and interactions and conversations. So in relationships, I think is all really important. And that one-to-one continues on. Who would have thought, not I, that it would be in existence, that we would be in existence 20 years. When I tell people this is where I was coming this weekend, they just sort of looked at me kind of perplexed, like 20 years? I'm like, yeah.